Today, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days. Now, she's dropped a political bombshell. It's not just about her failed campaign against Donald Trump. It's a book that's full of anger, regrets, blunt truths about Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and why she passed over Pete Buttigieg as her running mate. Today, we're going to break it all down.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine.
Peace and blessings, everybody, and welcome back to the Publisher's Desk. And today, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days. Now, she's dropped a political bombshell. It's not just about her failed campaign against Donald Trump. It's a book that's full of anger, regrets, blunt truths about Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and why she passed over Pete Buttigieg as her running mate. Today, we're going to break it all down. In 107 days, Harris blasts Biden's decision to delay dropping out, as she told Rachel Maddow on her show.
The decision around the president abandoning his reelection campaign, the timing there and how it was handled. You say in part, page 46, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Whose decision should that have been? How should that decision have been made?
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
If you said to President Biden that you did not think he should run again.
Yeah, or even that he should question whether it's a good idea. But I think that, you know, one of the reasons I wrote this book, Rachel, is there are actually a number of reasons. One is, that it is unprecedented, right? To your point of what you said in your opening. We had a president of the United States running for re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century. And there was so much about those 107 days that...
Harris also rips Biden's political operation, saying the campaign's briefings made no sense, and quoting her on staff who called them a dog and pony show.
Caustic when it comes to describing the political operation around President Biden. When President Biden was still running for re-election, she says that the political briefings that were run for the campaign, I think the actual phrase she uses is made no sense to me. She quotes one of her own staffers describing them as a dog and pony show.
She paints a picture of a president and team that undermined her rather than lifted her. But here's my question. Why didn't she just get rid of them? It was her campaign. It was her chance to become president. Why did she allow this to happen when she saw it? Or was she truly the one in charge? Harris wasn't only angry about campaign mechanics, she also calls out Biden's foreign policy, blasting him for showing empathy to Ukraine while ignoring the Palestinians. And she went further in an MSNBC interview, turning fire on the elite institutions.
Those titans of industry would be guardrails for our democracy, for the importance of sustaining democratic institutions. And one by one by one, they have been silent. They have been, yes, I use the word feckless. It's not like they're going to lose their yacht or their house in the Hamptons. And here's the thing. Democracy sustains capitalism. Capitalism thrives in a democracy. And right now we are dealing with, as I called him at my speech on the ellipse, a tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now in Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up.
Brothers and sisters, did you hear that? Did Kamala Harris say democracy sustains capitalism? I thought the left and the Democrats say capitalism is bad, that we should get rid of capitalism. That's what Mandami is running on in New York City, saying capitalism is bad. But Kamala Harris says democracy sustains capitalism. Did y'all catch that? So where's the disconnect? Let's move on. Her message, it wasn't just Trump who failed. America, so-called, guardrailed the collapse too. Now here's the question. When Harris had the opportunity to turn the tides and not agree with Biden, when she was asked on The View, would she do anything different? Then why didn't she lay out what she would do different? She didn't do that. And that was her mistake.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Harris gives us a rare window into the brutal calculations behind vice president picks. One of the most explosive parts of the book is Harris admitting Pete Buttigieg was her first choice for VP.
Ask you a politics question. I mentioned in the intro tonight that you say in the book really bluntly that your personal first choice for your running mate would have been Pete Buttigieg, and you praise him effusively. You say he would have been an ideal partner if I were a straight man. And you say effectively that demographically it was too much to ask of the American people to ask them to elect you with him as your running mate. I wonder if his reaction to that, since this part of the book has come out, if you've had any reflection on that, or I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear. Yeah. With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said, that he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for President of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for President of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, you know, and maybe I was being too cautious, you know, I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe
Reactions have been fierce. Some say Harris is finally telling the truth about Biden and the Democratic Party. Others call it excuse making. Stephen A. Smith didn't mince words.
Harris, I'm incredibly disappointed with what I've seen from the standpoint of her promoting this book. Number one, she's saying things that she should have said when she was running for the presidency. She was quiet and deferred to her loyalty and gave Joe Biden much of a bigger voice than she needed to when she was indeed the Democratic nominee. She came across as somewhat leaderless at that particular moment in time, which is something that Trump was pointing out. Then to come out with this book after you lose the election, after you lose the popular vote for the first time for a Democrat since 2004, after you lose every swing state, after young blacks, young Hispanics, you know, all of those numbers dipped in Trump's favor because of you. You come out with a book and you're talking about Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, who I interviewed last week. Oh, he was too ambitious. You're looking at Gavin Newsom. You pointed out how he didn't return your calls. You were talking about the tepid response that you got from Michelle and Barack Obama. You know, you talked about Biden and how, you know, it shouldn't have been about egos and all of this stuff. Nobody wants to hear this now. This is the problem. And this is why I believe her political career is over. Listen, I'm not as connected to the political apparatus as you are, but I've had some people come up to me since those quotes from her, the excerpts from her book came out. And they said to me last year, you know what a couple of people said to me? He said, we ain't taking her calls. How do we know that she's not taping them? How do we know she's not taping our phone calls? What are you doing revealing private conversations, okay? This is the kind of stuff that ends up haunting you. And so you like she pointed out, she didn't have as much Democratic support as she would have wanted to begin with. It was all manufactured in the end. Once she was the Democratic nominee, it wasn't about you. It was about people who didn't want Trump to be president. It wasn't about you, and people were enamored with you, and they couldn't wait to go to the polls to vote for you, because if that's the case, you would have made it to Iowa in 2020. You would have been able to endure a primary prior to the election. But you bypassed all of that. They clearly did it purposefully because they didn't want her to have to compete for the Democratic nomination. Nancy Pelosi's on the record saying she thought that the process should have happened. It didn't happen. All of these things that she comes out and she's speaking about now, I think she's doomed. And then last but not least, listen, I got a lot of problems with Donald Trump, a whole lot of problems. I truly, truly do. But I will say this, I can't say the man has done nothing right. I can't say that the border situation hasn't improved. I can't say that I can't ignore that the economy hasn't fallen, you know, that's fallen apart. I'm still waiting for the results of the tariff war, the real results. I'm still waiting for him to resolve the Ukraine-Russian war, and it's nice to see him speak in favor of Ukraine for a change. But to say you can't think of anything that he has done shows the partisanship, how flagrant it is, how unproductive or counterproductive it is, and how she was not the right person to lead this country. And she, as far as I'm concerned, is done in politics. I cannot see the Democratic Party supporting her one iota moving forward.
Whatever that party is.
He said, who cares? But Harris insists her story matters. In her view, her campaign was undermined not just by Trump, but by party leaders, elites, and her own caution. I don't think Harris can blame Trump. Harris had the opportunity to address issues in the black community, to address issues what were going on with black men. Instead, she allowed the campaign to attack black men, call black men misogynistic, call black men that we didn't love black women.
The brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more, and you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting.
She made a lot of mistakes. And she can't blame Biden. She can't blame Jill Biden. She could only blame herself, because when she saw these issues, she should have stepped up and taken charge. And maybe she would have been president today. I hold no cares for her excuses. The way that she made and her campaign made and the Democratic Party made black men feel. I hold no cares for that. She can't blame Trump. She can only blame herself. So what do you think? Is Harris exposing the rot inside the Democratic Party or just shifting the blame? Drop your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. Thank you for watching. This is the Publisher's Desk, and I'm Black Westchester publisher Damon K. Jones. Check out blackwestchester.com for the latest news with the Black point of view. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and most of all, stay blacktastic. Peace out.
Tired of the same emotional politics that lead nowhere. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure by Damon K. Jones is the book Black America needs right now. It exposes the lies, challenges the gatekeepers, and calls for real strategy, not just symbolism. Power starts with truth. On sale, now, and available in audiobook on Amazon.
Tolerance is for Cowards by Damon K. Jones. This book is not anti-police, it's pro-community. Discover how the extended policing strategy empowers you to demand real public safety, justice, and accountability from your local police department. Because the Black community deserves good policing. On sale now on Amazon and Audible. Discover Jesus and Divine Black Masculinity by Damon K. Jones. This a bold blueprint to restore faith, manhood, and purpose in Black America. Because the Black community needs good Black men. Available now on Amazon. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and share it with others who need to hear the truth. And for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, join the Black Westchester Magazine YouTube membership club today. Your support helps us keep independent Black media strong. Support independent Black media with style. Rock Black Westchester merch and represent the news with the Black point of view. Every purchase helps us speak truth to power.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.